Hey, small business owners. Thanks for tuning in to The Big Small Expert, a show for independent retailers that gives you tips and tricks on how to make your business stand out in a sea of big box retailers. I'm your host, The Big Small Expert, Melissa Palermo, and I opened my first retail store almost 20 years ago, and since then I have been consumed with passion for small business. In today's episode, we're going to talk about some of the barriers that may be stopping you from growing your small business. For more small business tips and tricks, subscribe to this podcast and head over to thebigsmallexpert.com. All right, so let's get into this episode. I know that I get caught in my head, and I'm assuming you might be the same too. It happens to a lot of us. Especially when I'm overwhelmed. The more I feel I have to do or that I want to do, the less I'm able to do. It's crazy. I really get almost caught in the weight of everything that is on my list and all the places I want to go and all the goals that I have and all the ideas that I have. So this is going to help you kind of dissect what are some of the things that are stopping you from small business growth and how to circumvent that and get past them. So, first one, okay? Is this one of the barriers that's stopping your small business from growing? Are you working for your business rather than on your business? Are you getting tied up fulfilling orders? Doing customer service, putting fires out, stocking shelves, covering for employees. I know, I've been there, I understand, especially if you have just started out, you might be a solopreneur. You know, you're just a one-person show. And in that case, you don't have any employees. But I'm going to encourage you to look to hire one, two, even just a little part-time, just so that you can pull yourself back from the daily minutia of running your business. So hiring the right people, of course, is important, but hiring and training and being able to let go. We small business owners tend to be super tightly wrapped, and we want to do everything right. We want it the way we want it, and we sometimes have trouble delegating, but it is okay. I mean, I guarantee you nobody is going to take as good a care of your customers as you are. However, there are people out there that you can hire, and then they may even already be on your staff, and they will do an excellent job, okay? So you need to take some time, just schedule a small amount of time to get off of the sales floor, to maybe even get out of your store so that you're away from the phone ringing. You're away from hearing customers ask questions. You're out of that daily task running from minute to minute in your business. Maybe it's once a week. Maybe you, come in late to the store. Maybe you leave early. Maybe you just take a couple hours, I hate to say it, on your day off because you're not ready to hire anybody yet, and you sit down and you come up with one of the things that is another barrier if you're missing it, and it's a strategic plan. I mean, we all know planning is important. I'm a planner. I love planning. It gives me it helps to alleviate anxiety. It helps to give me some direction. And I am one of those people who's like, zoom, zoom, zoom. Oh, this is neat. Let's do that. Oh, what about that? Oh, great. I'm going to focus on that. And I need to rein that in personally. But having a strategic plan is really about taking your ideas, writing them down, and making them goals. Now, you could have some seriously lofty goals. I know that in my early 20s, when I opened my first retail store, I wanted to take over the industry. I wanted to be a Fortune 500 company. I wanted to go public. I wanted to ring that bell, on the New York Stock Exchange. Lofty goals. I did not have a strategic plan to get there. I also, life and my family, having children, that changed my goals, which is totally okay. But had I had a strategic plan, I might have gotten closer than I did. So sit down, come up with some goals. They need to be attainable. So let's say you want a sales goal. Okay, I make $1,000 a week in sales. What's a stretch? What's a stretch that you could try for the next couple weeks? Is it $1,200? Is it $1,500? Is it $2,000? Make it attainable. And then figure out what you're going to do to try and attain that goal. So let's say you want $1,500 in sales. What are you going to do? How are you going to promote? How are you going to market? What products are you going to push? How are you going to talk to your customers? All of that stuff. So really coming up with an absolute idea and game plan. Now let's say you have a giant goal. You can take that giant goal, like being a Fortune 500 company, and work backwards. So in order to be a Fortune 500 company, I need to do this. Well, I'm nowhere near that. So what do I need to do to get there? All right. Well, maybe I need to do this. Maybe I need to franchise. Maybe I need to get my systems in place. Maybe I need to it's just a list. You can just keep going backwards. That doesn't always work for everybody. That doesn't always work for me personally. Sometimes I like to get momentum by looking at the smaller goals and starting there and going, wow, I just did that. I put in hard work and I freaking did it. What else can I do? What else do I want to do? So have a strategic plan. Now, your strategic plan could be amazing, but if you're suffering from cash flow problems, I feel you. I absolutely feel you. Even in our personal lives, whether you're a small business owner or not, or you're thinking about starting a business, we all in our personal lives have bills. So if your cash coming in from your current paycheck is not kind of coming in as you need it to, it's tied up in other places, and you're not quite able to pay your bills on time, that's a cash flow problem. Okay, but in your business, the first thing I'm going to tell you to look at if you're having a cash flow problem is your margin. Now, different industries have different margins. It almost blew my mind when I found out that the grocery store industry works on razor thin margins. 1%, 2%, 3%. What is that? That's a lot of work to make this little tiny bit. When it comes to, other goods, clothing, jewelry, consumer goods, toys, those margins are going to be much higher percentage-wise. So in that type of thing, say a gift store, a candle store, something like that, and I've said it before, I'll say it again, you want to keystone. What is keystoning? So let's say you buy an item for $10. You want to sell that for at least $20, sort of doubling your money. So you put out 10, you got your 10 back plus an extra 10. Now that being said, there are expenses that get worked into that. So if you're unclear on all your expenses, that's bad. I mean, I've done it, especially when I had trouble paying my bills, either personally or in my business. I didn't want to know. It's kind of like, la, 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 la. If I don't address it, it's not real. Like, I know it's back here in the back of my head, but I'm just not strong enough to really dive into it and see how bad things really are. So I feel you. I totally understand. But you need to get a good knowledge of your expenses so that you can sit down, look at your margins, because maybe you are making a really great margin. Maybe your margins are incredibly high for your industry, but all those expenses pick away at the money that's left after that sale. So I actually combined two here. So cash flow problems and having a clear and concise understanding of what your expenses are. Those are two things that you're going to need to overcome for growth in your small business. Now, there are things that people do. I've seen it. I was never one for it, but there are small business owners who will take say, airline mile credit card. They pay all their outstanding invoices for product, maybe all their shipping costs, with this mileage credit card. And then they are able to pay that credit card off at the end of the month with all the sales that have come in, and then they have these extra miles or they have extra cash back. It's amazing. The idea of it is excellent. However, if you and your business are not able to pay that credit card off every single month, and you start gaining interest charges, then you're actually paying more for the same amount of money. So instead of going and maybe getting a small business loan, you're going to be paying a higher rate for the same amount of money. So instead of getting $1, or you're paying $1 out, it's really costing you $1.50. I mean, those are just loose math terms, but so that can attribute to a cash flow problem. Another thing is, let's say you want to grow in your business, and most of us do, but maybe you want to have a new offering. You already carry jewelry, you already carry clothing, but you think, maybe I want to try shoes. Okay. Well, you might need to, so that you do not affect your cash flow, you might need to slow your roll, start putting some capital away so that then you can actually go out and really dive in and pull in the shoes you want to pull in the sizes you need to pull in the assortments you need to pull in, okay? Not dribs and drabs. You're also going to make a bigger statement when you do that. So if your customers come in and they're used to clothing and they're used to jewelry, and then you're like, hey, we have shoes, but look, we only have 3 styles and we don't have all sizes. Not a statement. But if you're like, look, we have shoes now. Look at these 12 different styles and in all the popular sizes. Don't worry, we have wide for you too. That's a statement. That's something to promote. That's something to get behind. So I digress a little bit. So I said cash flow problems. That's a barrier. Having an unclear understanding of your expenses is another barrier. We talked about especially if you have tight margins, look at your fixed costs. So your fixed costs would be your rent, your mortgage, your electricity, your water, sewer, trash, that kind of thing. Then look at your other costs, payroll. Maybe you are overstaffing. Maybe you're understaffing. You never know. Look at that. Maybe you have an employee that is getting overtime. Nope, we don't want that. So look at those fixed costs and get a clear understanding of what it costs you. I am not a numbers person. I am a word person. So I never like looking at my finances. I never like talking numbers necessarily. It sort of makes my brain go to sleep a little bit. However, that's a barrier. I got to get over that. I got to work hard on that, and I have to address it, and I have to do it. It might not be my favorite thing, but I know that it's what's best for me. It's what's best for my business, and it's what's going to help me get to where I want to go. All right, another barrier to small business growth is an outdated marketing strategy. You guys know I am all about marketing. I love marketing. There's marketing genius out there. There's marketing ideas that are new and exciting. There's terrible marketing ideas out there. There's also outdated marketing ideas. So I don't know how long you've been in business. If you go back to the first episode of season 2 of the Big Small Expert podcast, you will see I am talking with a friend of mine named Ralph. And Ralph started a comic book store called Comics and Paperbacks Plus out of a spare bedroom in his house in the late 80s. And from that point, he had multiple storefronts. He still has a storefront. He sells on Facebook Lives. He does all sorts of things. I guarantee you, the way that he communicated to his customers in the late 80s, in the mid 90s, in the early 2000s is completely different than how he would be and should be talking to his customers now. First of all, they're different. The way his industry, and maybe in your industry as well, was looked at was an investment piece. So comic books were an investment. Is that still how it's looked at in the industry? I don't know. Only you know how the products that you bring into your store and that you sell, how they're looked at by your customers. So have your customers changed? Now, I can say there are certain age brackets for certain types of stores. So let's say you carry baby goods. You carry, baby clothes, baby furniture, that type of thing. There is a window of when a customer is going to need that in their life. And at some point, they're not going to need that anymore. That's not going to be something for them. They're going to sort of outgrow your store and you're going to need new people. So as pregnant ladies, as the times go on and different generations come along, how people look at shopping changes. Their needs change, the things they want in their home change. Maybe the things that are important for them and their family has changed. We've seen different trends. We've seen trends in more environmentally friendly things, in having safer, no chemical options for things we bring into our home. We've seen those trends. So keeping an eye on that and really thinking about, okay, what do I carry here? You should know your target market, please. If you don't know your target market, go back to a previous episode of The Big Small Expert. So you should know your target market, and maybe your target market is still the same that it always was. It's still the same sort of age bracket. It's still the same gender. It's still the same type of person. However, you have been in business for 10 years, and that has changed. That person has changed a bit. Their needs, their wants, the problem that they want to solve has changed. So if your marketing strategy is out of date, that's a problem. Here's one. This is when I first opened my first retail store, I had, and it's amazing, it was like a beacon that went up in my town. I live in a small town. All these advertising reps came to me and said, "Hey, welcome. Nice to meet you. Let me offer you this deal. Here, you can advertise in this newspaper. Here's the cost. Great deal. Here, you can advertise in this magazine. Great deal. Here, you can advertise on our website. Great deal." And so I had a lot of options. And I didn't have any data, personal data, to go back because I didn't really have any sales to go, I don't know. I mean, what's going to be the most successful for me? I have no idea. But I can tell you that at that time, when I opened that first store, there were a lot of businesses who were my neighbors who had been advertising in the newspaper for a really long time. And it had worked for them because that was the main source of advertising back when they started, or back when they were really at their height. But they were on a downslide because they hadn't changed their marketing strategy. They just did what they always did. And we get on autopilot. We just sort of do what we do. It worked. Seems okay. I'm going to do this. No problem. But that is going to stop growth. We have to grow. We have to change. We have to grow. I like that better than change. We do. We have to grow and continue to learn and find new things and not be so stuck in what we've always done. It's not easy. I'm a woman of routine. I think humans love routine. But going back and looking at that marketing strategy, huge. Now, if you don't have any money that you're going to put behind your marketing strategy, then don't even bother. Sorry about that. So I can say that it's funny because when sales start to slip and we're having problems really bringing the money in, one of the first places businesses will cut, and it's their marketing budget. And I understand why. I did it too. I totally understand why. But it's a catch-22. Because if you are cutting back on your marketing budget and not promoting your business, your wares, your products, then chances are those sales aren't going to go up. So marketing and having a marketing budget and spending concise, targeted dollars for concise, targeted campaigns is huge. So, I'm all about marketing. But having I digress again, having an outdated marketing strategy with some marketing dollars, that is definitely something to overcome if you're not doing that in your business. And then last but not least, how outdated is your business? And maybe you might say, well, no, people still love this artwork that I sell. Great. People still love the gifts that we have in our gift shop. Awesome. Keep in mind, though, is your customer service up to date? As the internet has come along and as social media has come along and become part of our lives, the way customers expect responses has changed. Absolutely has changed. People will go on their phone, go on their computers, go on their tablets and search your business. And maybe that will come up in Facebook. And they will want to quickly find the information. Maybe it's your hours, maybe it's what type of product you carry, who knows. Maybe they have a concern or a specific question. They will probably send a message. If they can't send a message through one of those outlets, then you're missing out. But they're going to want to send a message, and they're going to expect a response pretty quickly. Now, that doesn't mean that as soon as you get a question, you just drop what you're doing with the person who is in front of you, the customer who's in front of you, and pick up that phone and go, oh, I gotta handle this. No. But it used to be people were willing to wait till later to get a call back. They were more willing to wait till the next day to get a call back, to get an answer. Now they're not necessarily as willing to wait hours. We want immediate answers to our questions. Do you remember back in the day, you used to ask a question? Boy, I wonder, I don't know, I wonder who won the most gold medals from America. Good question. You would have to go to the library. Maybe check out the encyclopedia. Maybe you were lucky enough that you had a whole set of encyclopedias in your house that you could look some of these things up. But it wasn't going to be immediate. You had to do some research. This generation, and it's not their fault, they don't understand. You have a question, you literally grab your phone and type it into Google, and you have a multitude of answers within seconds. Or you have a Google Home and you just ask. It's bananas. So people want answers quickly. Does your customer service allow for that? Is it outdated? Because I'm going to guarantee you that if they're not getting the answers to their questions quickly, they're going to think that that's bad customer service. Just is. We're rush. I got things to do. Another thing that falls under that is, say you have a retail store and gets a little bit of a line. Sometimes it gets a little busy. It's kind of like this is such a joke for Walmart. I normally don't mention big box stores by their names, but we'll call them out. It's Walmart. They have 27 registers. Have you ever seen all 27 open? I haven't either. Even at the busiest times, there's usually a wait. So maybe 6 of the registers will be open, and 4 of those are self-checkout. So having to wait, if you have a second register, but nobody's willing to use it because maybe you didn't put the cash in the drawer for the day, or you're going to have to count it at the end of the day, bad customer service, outdated customer service. Nobody wants to wait. We are all in a hurry. So let's go over those barriers again to small business growth. Are you working for your business instead of on your business? Do you have a strategic vision? And do you have a strategic plan? Are you having cash flow problems? Do you have a tight grip on what your expenses are in your business? Where is the money going that goes out the door? Do you have an outdated marketing strategy? And do you have marketing funds to put towards your marketing strategy? And last but not least, do you have outdated or subpar customer service? Those all are huge, huge barriers to small business growth. Now, I know there are, personally, I have some of my own personal barriers that have kept me from growing in my own businesses. Number one being fear. If I try something and it fails, I'm afraid of that failure. I'm afraid of being disappointed. I'm afraid of putting in the effort and not having the outcome that I want. So that's big. That is one I personally have to get over a lot. Fear is a great motivator, but it is also a great barrier. Denial. Are you like, everything is great. I don't need anyone else's help. I've got it. I've been doing this for so long. I know what I'm doing. Nobody knows my business better than me. And that is true. No one does know your business better than you. However, you got to keep learning and you got to keep growing. Are you so full of pride that you are, I know it all. I don't need to hear from anyone else. I don't need suggestions, constructive criticism. Because I'm so defensive that when I get that constructive criticism, it's not constructive. It's criticism. And I need to tell you why you are wrong and why I am right. Are you lacking self-discipline? I think we all do. Let's face it. I think we all do. I know I do. I lack self-discipline. Sometimes I lack motivation. I don't know if you lack motivation. I am very at tune with what the seasons are like. I live in the Northeast of the United States, so we have seasons. It can be anywhere from 100 degrees in the summer, which is rare, all the way down to below freezing in the winter. So how I feel and how motivated I am is definitely tied into what the weather is like. I have identified it. I try to work through it, but lacking motivation is a tough one. The last thing that I think is a great personal barrier that may stop you from actually addressing the barriers in your small business is a lack of goals. I have had many people be like, hey, can you help me with my business? Sure. What business is it? Well, I have this idea. I haven't started it yet, but I want to do this. I want to start my own business. I want to make money doing this. Okay, great. Have you written it down? Well, no, I just have these ideas are kind of floating around. I'm just talking to people. Go write them down. That is the easiest and best advice I can give. Go write your ideas down because they become your goals. Write your goals down. What's the difference between a dream and an attainable goal? I don't know. Or a goal is writing it down. I don't know what the quote is, but writing it down. Write down the ideas you have. Write down the goals you have. There is something more concrete when things are actually written. You don't need to put it up on your bathroom mirror, although that's not a bad idea. literally taking pencil or pen to paper and writing these goals down will help you. I guarantee it. Guarantee it. So I hope that today's episode of The Big Small Expert has helped you take sort of an introspective look on what is stopping your small business from growing and what personally is keeping you from doing the things to grow your small business. Remember, I am a cheerleader for small business. I want your small business to more than survive. I want it to thrive. I hate when people say, I want my small business to survive. No. I want it to thrive. I want it to be amazing. I want it to be everything that you want it to be. I just hope that you find the motivation and find some of the tools to get there. So thanks so much for tuning in to The Big Small Expert. I will catch you again on our next episode, and get out there and do your best.